Okay, now my mic should be working. Face cam! Yay! Yeah, Spoon. Windows 10 updated and decided that my microphone should be the built-in microphone that my computer doesn't have. Because Windows 10 is still stupid and thinks because I have a UPS plugged in that it's a laptop. Because Windows is stupid. As for the thing, that was what I was going to show off first. I tried a new spot for the mic, and I don't know how well it's working out. Anyways, as things fall all over my desk, I got an in-person donation, and I thought I'd show it off. So, a friend at church, I fixed her laptop. I'm peeking. See, I gotta get used to the new bike location. So, as part of her payment for fixing her laptop, even though I didn't even ask for any payment, she gave me this. It is a frequency counter / frequency generator. So now I can create test signals to test circuits. And I've already tested it out a little bit, and it works. Or at least as well as I can test it with my oscilloscope. Still have to find a place for it. It's been hanging out on my desk. Yep. But the thing that we're going to be playing with today has potentially hazardous voltage and some caps and some other things. So it's going to be fun. Now this has been sitting on my patio for, I want to say, about a year. Don't know why it doesn't work, just know that it doesn't work. We're going to try to see if we can figure out why it doesn't work today. Only because I'm not in the mood to try to solder surface mount components right now, because, yeah. So, the problems that this thing had, if I remember correctly, the battery went bad and short-circuited, and now the unit won't turn on. I've already pulled the battery out. I did that a while ago so it wouldn't leak all over the place in there. But that was as far as I ever got with this thing. And I'm already dropping pieces. What a way to start. should learn by now, Mr. Wells, that any attempt to get Spoon to stop his metric ways will result in him either invading Belgium or Poland. Okay, that didn't come apart as easy. That didn't come apart as easy as I thought it was going to, but it's apart. So, a typical arrangement for one of these. You got a large multi-tap transformer, your battery connections, and then an H-bridge rectifier system, which, looking at this setup, it does the stereotypical thing where you've got, let's see, I've got my voltage comes in, hot comes up and goes into here. Well, let's see if I can remove this board at all. Oh, I think I know what the problem is. Don't know if you can see that. Kind of hard to see it on camera. Is it me, or is that Rit? Winamp is being really loud. So yeah, Spoon, that trace got hot enough to literally melt. Now, like I said, this thing, the battery went short circuit on it. I expected to see a blown fuse or something, because there is a big, they don't make it, this is not designed to be user serviced. It's designed, once it does this, to be thrown away. But down in here is a 50 amp fuse that I would have expected that to blow before a trace melted on the board. So there might be more wrong with this than just that battery going short circuit. And actually, it's not a 50 amp fuse, it's two 40 amp fuses in parallel that are directly soldered to the board. And there's less capacitors in this thing than I thought there was going to be as well. Because that's the big concern when you crack one of these open, is the capacitors in them are going to be live, and you're going to shock the crap out of yourself. But we'll see if we can do a trace repair. It looks like it's coming from this relay. There's a relay up here going. It's coming through the rectifier. You know, this is the over voltage, under voltage. You know, protection relays right here. And also it controls whether it's being pulled off the battery or from direct source. And that is the main on-off relay. But I don't know if that's incoming voltage or outgoing. So let's see here. Let's trace it out. Ah, that's the red wire. That goes to... Interesting. That red wire goes to the hot that is not live. Or not battery backed up, I should say. But I bet you that everything else in the circuit derives, you know, all the control circuitry derives its power from that rail, I'm guessing. Which is why it went poof. So this might be an easier fault fix than I thought. But at the same point, it's also going to be a pain in the butt. Because I don't think I have any suitable wire here. Let's fire that up first. Let me see if I can see what all ties into that circuit. So the main hot end. Oh, okay. Alright, okay. So I see what's going on here. So this connection here is the main hot coming in off of the plug. It then goes through. This is a choke right here, which I'll flip the board over so you can kind of see that. Maybe. See, there's these common mode chokes right here that filter the AC power, and that jumps over to here, over to this main. This is the main trace coming into the rectifier circuit. That's why it went poof. Let's see here. Is it out of sync? It's probably out of sync. Let's see here. Am I ahead or behind, Spoon? Audio's behind. Alright, here is a test. I changed the delay to 1500 milliseconds instead of 2000. Now I'm only a second behind. Or my camera's even synced. Yeah, see, the cameras are off sync too. Okay, now that I got the cameras synced, let me make sure that they're still on sync with the audio. Yay! See, this is what happens when Windows updates. You have to redo everything. Okay, what I first did there is I just trimmed out the burnt section of trace. Let's see if I have any. I'm going to put a little glue on them so they don't peel back. I don't know if this will work on phenolic board or not. I've never tried. So, just to keep the ends from peeling back, I went ahead and dabbed a little glue on the end. But 1 second, I need to go get some wire. And we're back. So I went and grabbed some of my THHN stranded that I have, because trying to solder solid core wire onto this was going to be near to impossible. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to go from these 2 points here to like this point here with just a bodge wire to bypass this broken piece. This component here, which I think is a diode, it might be one of the surge suppression caps even, and it will still get its power up this way, and so will this component here. But we'll be replacing this section here that burnt. And hopefully there's nothing else wrong with this board, and when I plug it in, it'll work and it won't go poof. Okay, so our first thing is we need to get how long this is going to be. I should also state that unless you know what you're doing, don't try this stuff at home. Because I am working, in this case, it's with 110 volts. But if you're in Europe, it's 220. It can kill you. Now, this one, unlike my big one that's sitting under my desk, only has some relatively small capacitors. But they can still hurt you or even potentially kill you. So, unless you know what you're doing, don't do this at home, please. Public service announcement over. Okay. First step, kind of flatten that out a little bit to make the soldering surface a little bit wider. My soldering iron is up to temp. Bring this in because I don't want to be holding it while I'm soldering it. Might not be able to do this with this soldering iron, we'll see. It seems to be taking it. Now this wire that I'm tinning here is just standard American 12 gauge THHN. It's what I have that's on hand for carrying 120 volts at a relatively high current. I could add that spoon. But we're almost through with this. Well, you know what? I might... Yeah, give me a second after I finish tinning that. text. What? That's what's inlet. How do I want to work that? Ooh. Working. Voltage. Do not try unless. Doing there. Is that better, Spoon? Solder is being a pain in my butt. See, this is what I get for dropping the spool of solder. And the littlest brute, or no, that's the biggest brute spawn came in and left. Fine. There. Now it's not obscuring anymore. But you can't see the warning, so. So what I'm doing here is trying to flow a little fresh solder on these connection points that I'm going to be tapping onto. There we go. Just so we get a better bond with the wire. And I don't know how old the solder is on this thing. Remember how I said I didn't know if I had the right tool for this job? Put some fresh solder in there. Alright. Yep, I gave my little public service announcement. both in audio and video form. If at this point you still injure yourself, please at least be recording it so I can find it and try to submit you to the Darwin Awards. Okay, that's getting warm under the finger. Some more solder here because it's not exactly bridging like I'd like it to. Okay. Oh, wait. Keep that on just in case I still need it. Alrighty. As I knock things off the desk. Don't know if you can hear that, but that now beeps, so let's first off see. Okay, we don't have a direct short between hot and neutral, but we got through the choke, we've got continuity. Through there we've got continuity, and then like I'd expect through there, not so much. But let me double check. And make sure that there's not like anything else. Okay. Now I'm going to do something that's going to be a little bit dangerous. Oh, I'm sorry, Lady G. So, I'll recap for you what we did. Is this UPS has been sitting on my back patio for about a year. It's just one of those things that hasn't been high on my priority. Took it apart to see what was wrong with it, and you can kind of see it there, but this whole section of track literally burned out of it. So I put this wire in to replace that burned track, and I'm about to do something dangerous of plugging it in to see if things go boom again. Because what happened on this is the battery pack went bad in it and went short circuit and literally connected the positive and the negative together in here, which should have blown a fuse, but it didn't. It burned a track instead. Now this is a cheap Chinese battery backup unit. Well, I wouldn't call it cheap. I think it's a trip light, actually. So it's not that cheap. Yeah, it's a trip light. Well, I've got it. Which one's the power? Okay. Okay, so That board goes in that way, so this guy's my power. So what I'm going to do, and this might be stupid and crazy, okay, it is now live, so no touchy-touchy. Let's get a good neutral here. Okay, I'm getting 118 volts. All the way up to that relay. You notice how I'm keeping one hand behind my back when I'm doing this? Won't turn on. Okay, so I'm getting 37 volts right there, where I was. I'm getting 2 volts there. I wonder if it needs a battery to turn on. This might be one of the ones that needs a battery to turn on. Because it uses the battery voltage to kickstart the unit on. So that is ground. So all of that's sitting at ground potential. So that's a cap. Okay, 118. That's 38, so that must be a power resistor or something. What's this guy? Oh, I've got voltage there. I've got voltage there. Trying to see. If I've got any voltage anywhere else. There's a large rectifier over here, it looks like. Yes. So I'm getting no voltage to the rectifier circuit. that rectifier might only be for battery charging, not for powering the control circuitry. You might have to unplug this thing and start tracing out component tracks and see if I can figure out where the power for that, and that is derived. Yeah, I still don't own GTA 5, so I can't do any of that fun online stuff with you guys. There shouldn't be anything coming out of this right now. There isn't. Okay, let's unplug this. Now, these things are still potentially dangerous. Let me show you something here. Unless they've got the proper bleeder resistors on this capacitor, which, wow, they do have the proper bleeder resistor on the capacitors. Sometimes they don't. Okay. So we got, what do we got here? Okay, that looks like a dropper capacitor for something. Okay, so we've got a dropper capacitor. What is that tied into? Okay, so that is tied into neutral, which has a relay on it. Wait. What? So I've got the main neutral coming in, going to there, coming up, going to there. Has the smoothing cap, the filter choke, and then it goes out this blue wire to those outlets. And then it goes across that brown, okay, brown to, alright, oh, okay, so these are the battery backed up outlets, these are the normal outlets that are just surge suppressed. Or wait, no. Okay, yeah, all the outlets are surge suppressed, which is this yellow wire here. So that yellow and that brown are for the surge suppressed only. But they go through a relay, which is that relay normally open or normally closed? Yeah, you can go ahead and throw those out. I don't mind. Is this a normally closed relay? No, that's a normally open relay. Oh, that's a battery backed up. That's for the battery backed up outlets. Okay. So what do I have here? Goes down to taps and transformer. So. Hitting the camera here. So the control circuitry derives its power from, I'm assuming, that little transformer there, which gets powered by what? How can... No, that can't be. That doesn't make sense. How does that make any sense? Unless that's not a transformer and that's a filter choke. It's a single turn. Got, so that, yeah, I don't think that derives the power for the circuit. That looks like it's a feedback current transformer. So the system knows if the outputs are overloaded, it can shut the system off. Where is it deriving its voltage from? Yes, so those are... I might have to start at a chip and work my way backwards. Okay, let's start at this switch. We've got a debounce cap. Comes over here to a resistor, to a transit, to a transistor, okay. Buggers, you scrubbed off the numbers. I hate it when they do that. Ah, but there's one that I can read. Give me a second while I look up a data sheet. Easy OU 936. Okay. Micro. Okay, fine. We'll leave off the ST. Make that an O. Use an ST, right? So let's see, ST324, maybe? Okay, that might, yeah, alright. It's a quad amp, quad op amp. I think. Do. Okay, VCC should be the center pins, it looks like. Okay, yeah, that's believable. Alright, so that big old thing there is the positive rail. Comes around, ties into that, comes down, comes out of that. Okay, so what is this guy? That's a couple ceramic capacitors. No, that's ground. What is the voltage positive doing hooked up? I may have that chip backwards. That may be the VCC negative. Okay. Okay, let's try this again. Now that I kind of know where I'm looking, see if I've got any voltage. So the DC negative is hooked to ground. The AC ground, which is really weird. So that should be negative. And by all rights, that should be positive. I'm getting nothing. Thermal cutoffs. Voltage differential between those. Trace out this. Jumps over to this, which is all over this. It might need a battery to jumpstart this circuit. See if I can figure out what the voltage would be. Let's see. Specifications. Battery. 24 volts. Let's unplug the AC power from that because I don't want this backfeeding into my bench power supply and blowing that up. So I'm feeding 24 volts in on the battery terminals. Let me just double check that I'm getting voltage. Yeah, I'm getting voltage. Is it making it through the fuses? Yes, it's making it through the fuses. It's making it into the capacitors as well. So note to self that those are live now. Okay. So the circuit's a little less dangerous right now because, well, I don't have the 110 volts applied to it, but it doesn't mean it still won't shock me. Okay, so anything making it through H bridges. Nothing is making it through the H bridge. That trace run off to? That trace is off to right there. Okay, so percolator. So that goes off to that guy, which then goes to that guy, which does go through. Okay. Which goes to that guy, which goes to that guy. To that guy, goes to that guy, goes to all the relay coils, through that 0 ohm resistor, to this guy. What is that guy? Oh, is that another jumper link over to this? Ah, that is a opto-isolator. I'm getting ground up to it. Okay, so that's a good sign. Yep, that's got voltage on it. I have to kick that down to a lower voltage setting. Okay. Okay, so I'm getting voltage there. That's ground, maybe? Let's see here. I've seen that one played, haven't played it myself yet. It looks fun. So, for those wondering what I'm doing, is I am trying to see if... Okay, that chip is getting power. That chip is not. And that's my mystery chip that they scrubbed the numbers off of. Should be getting power. Okay, I am getting power up there to that. Which goes to the LED. Okay. And also come this back to this guy. Which then goes over to one of the relay coils. This guy might be done, guys, because I'm seeing significant discoloration on the circuit board right here, too. So that might have toasted some chips when it went. I don't know. It's still fun to poke around and prod and see if I can get this thing working again, though. Okay, so... I'm getting, okay, so getting voltage, oh, okay, so that is getting voltage, that's getting voltage, let's go through current limiting resistors, still getting voltage there. Goes up there. No. How did I know? Is that what I tested? No. What I tested? No. I wonder if I have 24 volts of battery floating around. Because I'm thinking this is one of those ones that it's smart enough that it won't turn on without the battery voltage. But it also won't turn on if there's no AC voltage. That's what it's looking like more and more. So even though I replaced that, I can't get it to turn on without the batteries. And I'm trying to think if I've got 2 batteries floating around that I can tie together and make a 24 volt battery pack. because I really don't want to feed back power into my bench power supply. Back down to about 5 volts, where I like to keep you. Back down to about 5 volts as well. Put that back in common. Hi, Jinx. I'm just trying to think if I've got some batteries lying around to test this thing out now that I've put a bodge wire on to fix that burned out section. Because it's looking more and more, even though this is one of the cheap trip light UPSs, it's smart enough to know when it doesn't have a battery pack hooked up. Let me go check for a couple of batteries outside. I think I remember seeing some. Okay. So I found a couple of batteries sitting outside. Don't know what shape they're in. They came out of a customer's site. Hi, King. Please tell me there's enough left in these. Make sure the internal resistance is not super high. Aw, that sucks, Jinx. Okay, let's jump start these batteries a little bit because they are completely flat. So I'll set my benchtop power supply to about 13.5 volts. Okay. Oh, you can't see anything that I'm doing right now. So what I got is these batteries are completely dead. You can see that there. If I go across here and here, I get about half a volt. If I go, this one will show 13 point something because I'm charging it right now. So disconnect the charger. Okay, see, it's coming up but not staying up. So these batteries are toast. But we'll see if I can at least trick out and fake the UPS enough. Yes, Mr. Wells, they are lead acid batteries. They are sealed gel lead acid batteries, most commonly known as the NP712, or a 7 amp hour 12 volt battery. Oh, it's upside down for you guys. Sorry. You know those big APC, what are they? The smart UPSs, the 3000 XL series? This is all that's in the battery packs. Is 10 of these. Gang together into 120 volts DC. So if anybody you're working for is ever throwing away about one of those big rack mount UPSs because they say the batteries are too expensive to replace, take it home, because you can pick these up, these 7 amp hour batteries up from Amazon for, they're about 20 bucks, and you just need 2 of them. So that's $200 to fix a $3,000 UPS. You know, Jinx, the only time I've ever had a UPS that used something different than a lead acid was when I was doing in the radio industry for a completely DC powered site. So there was no 110 volts coming in. It was all being produced via solar panels and a wind farm for 48 volts DC. And we were using nickel metal hydrides. But we very well could have done lead acid. The only reason we went with the nickel metal hydrides in that situation is because it's a remote mountaintop that we were putting it on, and we didn't want to have to drive up there every 3 to 6 months to service the batteries. Now, they were special nickel metal hydrides that were manufactured for the telecommunications industry to specifically store 48 volts DC. So it was a purpose-built system. But that's the only time I've seen anything other than lead acid. Let's see if this thing's holding any kind of charge. It's not holding a very well charge. I wish I had more amps that I could pump into this thing. But I'm only, well, let's see. I have a way of pumping more amps. Drop this to about, I'd say, well, actually, you know what? Crank that up to about 13 volts. Crank that up to about 13 volts. That'll give me about 26 volts. And it'll let me pump an amp. Or this will let me, this will let me pump a full amp in to both batteries at once instead of half an amp into one battery. Wait. That'll just charge both batteries, but yeah, it's still pumping the same amount of energy in. But yeah, I'm trying to get around 12 volts on these batteries, at least between the pair. Basically, so when they're ganged together like this, I get at least 12 volts, because then that might jumpstart this circuit enough for its charging circuit to kick in and power up and start charging the batteries. Or it might just yell at me and say that the batteries are bad. Either way, I'm hoping to get the circuit to turn on. And for those wondering, I have no real use for this battery backup unit. I already have 3 of them in this office. One is dedicated to just my network. Then I've got my big one that runs my computers, both mine and my son's. And then I've got a third one, it's pretty much another one of these, that runs my camera system for the house. So. Oh, that sucks, Jinx. Are they at least going to replace the hard drive for you, or do you have to pay them to do that? Oh, and I guess I should say, if you're jump-starting batteries like I'm doing here, do it in a well-ventilated area. Which, I've got my window open because it's nice right now, so I'm going to say that's ventilated enough. But the reason you don't want to do this in a non-ventilated area, which I'm going to shut my soldering iron off too, is because lead-acid batteries can produce hydrogen gas while they're charging. Now, these are sealed lead-acid, but they've still got vents in them, which can release that hydrogen, which is how these gel ones go bad, is after a while of charging, they've released a lot of their hydrogen out of the hydrochloric acid electrolyte, and then it basically doesn't hold the charge anymore because the electrolyte's gone. So, yes. Always charge these in well-ventilated areas. Also, don't overcharge them or short-circuit them, because the same things will happen. The more you know. We're at about 6 volts on those batteries. So those are going to take a while. I'm going to slide those back here for a minute. And see, what else can we do while we wait? I mean, I've got that little circuit board I can solder together. I got that little flashing heart I can solder together. I think that's the broken clock, but I kept it for the parts. I've got the replacement clock. What else do I got up here? I think that is it. Oh, what's this? Oh. Ha, another Arduino. Ah, I didn't even know I had this one. The things that get buried on my bench. That one can stay in its static bed until I need to use it. Yeah, I'm not in the mood for fighting with surface mount stuff at the moment. So let's see what we've got here. I don't know. This is just one of the random things I threw on my order. Yeah, I kind of figured the backup was your responsibility, Jinx, but my thing was, were they going to replace the hard drive, rebuild the host eventually? I didn't know it was low priority, so. I don't even know what all goes in this kit. So I got the 1, 2, 3 capacitors, 3 transistors, some 10Ks, and some Rs. It doesn't tell me. And some LEDs. Let's see if all the transistors are the same. That's an S9, that's a 9014, that's a 9014, and that's a 9014, so pretty much all Jelly Bean NPN transistors. Uh, 25 volt, 22 picofarad caps, all the same. Assuming the diodes are all the same. Yeah, that is kind of rough. Whoops. So I didn't even remember what this circuit board does, but being that it's 3 transistors and a bunch of LEDs, I'm assuming it chases around the heart. In a way, you could say this is Spoon's heart, because I bought it with his donation money. Get my component tester down. Okay, I noticed my view count went up a little bit. For those that just joined us, I'm working on this battery backup unit over here, but it requires some batteries in order to fire up. They are currently over here on my bench power supply charging up. And while we're waiting, I'm just going to throw a quick little kit together. And then, of course, the VR numbers go down. Okay, I may have to go intervene. These ones, I believe, are the 10. Yep, those are the 10K. Or close enough to it. What's the other value? Since it doesn't tell me. $500. Oh, are these? These might be color change LEDs. I don't know if you saw that when I tested it. That's what I get for Delphiing around. Dropped a resistor. These are the 10Ks. Oh, Spoon, by the way, did you hear what this is? Okay, all the resistors are in. Okay. Click that off. Inch taller. The caps are the. Fasteners are in. No. Okay, good. It didn't bridge. It looked like two of the solder joints had bridged together there for a second. Let me guess, a Logitech spoon? Because if it was Logitech, then it was actually made in Taiwan, but I'm gonna pop that off really quick and test this. It's probably not. It's probably only at like, I'm gonna say 6 volts. So those batteries might not even charge. Oh, I needed this. That's why I disconnected it. And I need to ramp the voltage down to about 3. So I need to find out on these if they're directional or not. Okay, 3. Okay, so they are directional. The shortest one, shortest leg is negative, or well, it was. Did I just blow this one up? I may have blown one up, guys. So, I'll set that aside. Okay, so negative is the short lead. Crank this back up. 26 volts. Okay, so we trace out the negative here. Okay, let's trace out the positive then. Okay, so positive comes around, goes to that resistor, goes to there, goes to the capacitor, and to that transistor. That's all it does. Negative up there. That's positive. That's positive plus. Ah, here we go. Okay. So positive. Positive, yeah. Positive was the shorter leg, right? Oh, son of a... Where did it go? Yep, I probably just blew this one up too. Okay, positive is the long lead. idea if this is even going to work. But we're going to try it. Time to straighten all those LEDs. So the trick when doing panel mount LEDs like this, you only solder one leg. And then you go through and straighten the ones that need straightening. And then you solder the other leg. For some reason that one didn't get solder on both. A good fillet on that one. Some of these soldered on pretty good, but some of them are pretty crooked. Okay. So they're all properly orientated. Okay, I'm going to leave the leads long on that for right now because I'm second guessing myself on which orientation I put those LEDs in. I forgot to put those back up. Came with a nifty little USB cable. Let's see. Well, Mr. Wells, that's exactly what got me that that tester, or the signal generator, was she had some bad DC power jacks. Go through. You little bugger. Okay. Alright, LED cube. I'll steal your power brick. Yay! It does little flashy blinky thingies. I need to find some of these LEDs though, just straight LEDs, because I want to change them out in my keyboard, so my keyboard actually changes color randomly. Oh, I should have brought my label maker in. Could have made a label for it that says Spoon's Heart on it. Spoon's Heart is fabulous! One other thing I'm gonna do this is I am going to. I don't need to do that. Just thinking about hot gluing down the wiring coming in. Well, Lady G, I'll have to dig into the Twitch API to pull out the follows, because I don't think they put the follows in raw format in the IRC. And see if there's a way I can encode that into Arduino bot. And then it'll be my follow heart. Because it does run off of 5 volts, and so does Arduino bot, so... might have to tap it off of the 5 volts that I'm using for the strobe lights. Cheap Chinese power brick that's supposed to look like an Apple one. Yeah, I could have it do something. Again, I'll just have to pull out of the Twitch API. Whenever somebody follows me, it'll turn on. So what you're telling me, Jinx, is that I may have to forego an Arduino and do something like a Pi for my bot if I start using JSON, because I don't think an Arduino can handle JSON. Okay. Well, that's going to be happily blinky over there. Let's see if these are at any decent voltage. They're probably at like 4 volts still. Well, they're at 6 volts, so let's see if... You know what I could probably do? I could probably build a JSON connector on my computer and then over the USB cable send commands to Arduino bot. So things like follow alerts and all that would be handled by my computer. Okay, battery is in. Okay, so batteries are in. Contact. Yep, I think when that thing went, it fried some chips in it. Bummer. Oh, well. Random things around my office. Well, so that's a flop. I might tear it apart and salvage some pieces out of it. But now I'm intrigued. I need to put those back on charge, because those are for my front door lock. Whoo, Streamception. And you can see James Mason is playing Kerbal Space Program down there in the corner. So, what I'm going to do is